Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. The case that I'm going to be looking into today is the murder case of Michelle Mockbee. And this case, I guess some people do believe that this person who was found to be guilty of this, essentially, is innocent. I mean, you guys can obviously find out that for yourself and let me know what you do think of it. He actually ended up being tried twice, which, yeah, we'll get into that as well. Michelle Mockbee was born in August of '69, and she wasn't always called Mockbee. That's her married name, so her maiden name was actually Whalen. And she actually worked in a company called Thermo Fisher Scientific. She was a lady that worked in the department and did the wages, so I don't know if she was actually the accountant or whether, that was just part of her job role. Anyway, she'd worked there for a long time. This is actually where she met her future husband, Dan, and she absolutely loved her job there. They ended up getting married and having two daughters together. And Michelle was a very dedicated mother. It was said that her passion in life was her children, and she would just do anything and everything for them. And that basically goes to show when we jump forward to a specific day as well, because on the 29th of May in 2012, it was the start of the kids' summer vacation. And what Michelle decided that she wanted to do was, because she's worked for this company for such a long time, she was very, very well trusted, and she needed to do everyone's wages. So she went in early, quite early, figuring that the earlier she did them, the earlier she got her hours over with, the earlier she could come home to her children and just spend those extra couple of hours of sort of the first day of the summer holidays with them. That was her plan. So that's what she did. Well, partly what she did. She ended up getting to work at 5:53-ish a.m. And she grabs all of the cards and things, and then she's obviously aiming to do the wages and go back home later on. Sadly, she doesn't make it that far, because within an hour of her actually arriving at work, somebody had murdered her. A janitor and a colleague actually found her body, and it was a gruesome sight as well. There was blood everywhere. She had been badly beaten up. I believe she was actually just outside of her office, lying face down. She had plastic over her, and she also had zip ties around her wrists. I'm not sure whether around her ankles, but her wrists at the very least. And obviously this bag was covering her head as well, this plastic. Oh, actually, I'm getting a bit confused here. Correct me if I'm wrong on this. There might have been a blood smear that led to her office, so they believed that she wasn't killed in her office. She might have been dragged in her office after. I might be getting mixed up on that. So my apologies if I have. And please do correct me in the comments below. But obviously the police were called. They came and did an investigation, and they looked at the scene. And then obviously they had to tell the devastating news to Dan, her husband, that his wife was deceased. She'd literally gone into work early so that she could spend some time with the kids, and she literally didn't even make it home, which is absolutely beyond devastating. When they looked into who could have possibly done this, they looked at all the staff that was in that morning, and they started obviously as well looking into whether she had any enemies. Dan was a main one that they were looking into, because I believe that he ended up getting a life insurance claim off of her, because they had life insurance after she passed away, and it was like £700,000, dollars. Yeah, dollars, obviously. So they were looking into. They had to look into him. Of course they did. She didn't really have any enemies, it seemed like. She had a sister who basically said the same thing. Couldn't understand anything as to why anyone would do this to her. They ruled Dan out pretty much straight away. He took a polygraph test, which I don't really like, but he passed that. And just the sheer how he took the news. People didn't think that he'd done anything, but they had to look into him, and they did rule him out. So now it was time to get on to maybe the other staff members who was there that morning. They also ended up ruling out like 12 staff members, but one person who they hadn't quite ruled out yet was the janitor, basically. And they were it was said that the family knew that the police were zoning in on one person, but they wouldn't tell them who it was. So the police were looking everywhere. They didn't find a murder weapon or anything like that. And so that led them to believe that whomever had done this must have left work to dispose of these items. So what do? They would check the security cameras, which actually showed one van leaving at 6:31 a.m, which is just after the time that they thought that Melissa had been murdered, and then coming back after 7 a.m. So now they're trying to find this person that was driving this truck, basically, because they're thinking that this person would have been covered in blood. The scene was horrific. They must have been covered in blood. So where are those bloody clothes? Where's the murder weapon? You know, all these things that they're looking for that are not in the office and not in the vicinity around the office. So they had to have been disposed of elsewhere. So what they do is they look into who owned this truck, and it comes back that it was a guy named David Dooley. Guess what? He was the janitor who actually, I think he was the one that actually found her as well. Him and his wife, Janet, actually worked for the company. And when the police spoke to David, he never told them that he actually left that morning, which, you know, they're asking, where was you when at this time? What was you doing at this time? Blah, blah, blah. So you'd tell them, oh, well, something happened. I had to go home. I had to come back. He never mentioned anything like that, which is strange because obviously they're being questioned with regards to a murder. So yeah, that's like a little red flag there straight away. And they confronted him with that, and he said that he did leave that morning. He left to go and check on his wife, who wasn't well. Like I said, she also worked at the company. Apparently he also mentioned to other people that he actually left because he'd ripped his pants and he was changing them. So the story there was changing already from what he was telling people and what he was telling the officers. They ended up speaking to his wife. Of course they did, because she could be his potential alibi. She initially said that he never came home. She then said that actually he did come home, but he had some ripped pants or something like that, and he went and changed them. And so they were looking at David pretty much. They were narrowing in on... Are you serious? Come on, get down. Sorry about that. They were obviously narrowing it in on David. And so they started to look into maybe... Stop it! Stop! No. They were, of course, looking into David more thoroughly. He was the only one that actually left work that morning. And like I said, you know, the reasons as to why they were looking into that. Anyway, they started digging deeper, and they started coming across rumours. Now, this has never been... wrongdoing has never been proven on this couple's part with regards to this. But the police started to find out that it seems like there were rumours going around that David was clocking in hours that they hadn't actually done. Therefore, essentially stealing money from the company by saying that they worked there when they didn't. Which he was apparently clocking in his wife's card when she was never even there. So they were both earning a wage when she wasn't there, basically. Yeah. And of course, Michelle did accounts and she did wages. Motive, possibly? Maybe Michelle had caught them. Oh, apparently she was suspicious of them anyway. Maybe she caught him doing something that day and he killed her for it. Who knows? They did find marks on Michelle's door that looked to be that of a screwdriver, and that screwdriver matched a screwdriver found in David's locker. So possibly he was trying to break into her office for some reason or other. Maybe Michelle coming in that morning disturbed him from doing that, and then he attacked her. They went around and searched around his home. but they didn't find any murder weapon or any bloody clothes or anything like that. They literally found no evidence whatsoever, had evidence to tie David into this. So all that they had really was circumstantial evidence. But it was quite strong evidence, circumstantial evidence, to be honest. I mean, he didn't necessarily have to go home that morning. He could have literally dumped clothes and a murder weapon anywhere, because anybody smart would have done. Like, I wouldn't have took that stuff home. I'm not a murderer and I never will be. But would you really take it home to get rid of it there? You know, that'd be one of the first places that they're going to look. They're looking for his boots as well, that he needed to... This company required him to wear for work. They couldn't find them. And it was said that he didn't really know Michelle. Like, she knew of everyone, obviously. She did wages, and she was quite friendly with his wife, Janet. Even inviting her to a baby shower or something like that, or attending a baby shower with her. But they didn't really cross paths too much. But it didn't take long before they arrested David in relation to Michelle's murder. They were basically thinking that Michelle had discovered what they were doing, or he was doing, with regards to the wages, and that she was going to tell. I don't know whether maybe she had some evidence in her office or something, that's why he was trying to break in, or maybe he suspected that she knew and he was trying to break in to see whether she had anything in there to say that she did know, or something along those lines. And obviously Michelle normally didn't come in that early. Whether David did or not, it's not known, because I saw an interview with her sister and she wasn't sure as to whether he was normally in at that time, but Michelle certainly wasn't. And so it seems like, you know, she disturbed someone doing something. Basically, his trial went on. Like I said, it was circumstantial evidence. He was found guilty of murdering Michelle, but not... He had a kidnapping charge as well. He was found not guilty for that, but guilty for the murder charge. And tampering with evidence as well. Now, normally, in these cases, this is the end. Well, not with this one, because a bit later on, he's decided that he was going to try and appeal, because he's always said that he's innocent, and his wife, Janet, actually believes him too. She basically said that she wouldn't stick by him if she thought that he had done this, and she doesn't think that he did. So he was appealing his sentence, and then this information came to light. It was a video. It was taken 10 hours outside of the office building, I believe, 10 hours before Michelle's murder, and it was of what the police described as this random guy gaining entry to the building. It was the same building that Michelle's offices and stuff, Michelle's work was in, but I believe there was other, from what it sounds like, there was other places of work in there too, like within the building. It wasn't just Michelle's building. And the defense basically said to a judge that, you know, there's not any footage of this person ever leaving. So because of that, and some other things, there was some talk of affairs going on within it, which I'm not going to get into. But mainly because of this video, and they said that it should have been shown at his defense, you know, and to the jury and all that lot. He actually got his charge, like, dropped because they were going to do a retrial, essentially. And so that was that. They had to... Michelle's family then had to go through it again, where they had to go through another trial. And I believe this was in 2016. Despite having a new trial and going through it all again, they did find David guilty once more of Michelle's murder. And to this day, he still claims that he's innocent. Some people do believe that he's innocent and believe that there's not enough evidence to be charged for it, because basically there wasn't really any evidence to tie him into it, apart from, you know, whomever did it had to have left that work that day, and he was the only one that left. Michelle had suspicions there was motive. You know, she had suspicions that he was frauding the company, essentially. And so, because of all of those, people do think that he did it. But is it this a case of, you know, he did actually do it and they have the right man behind bars? Or is there an innocent man behind bars and somebody else did it? Michelle's family do strongly believe that the right person is behind bars for this murder. He was sentenced this time to 38 years in jail and 5 years for tampering with evidence, so he's going to be away for a very long time. But yeah, this case really just is so devastating. She went into work early to spend some extra time with her kids, and she never walked back out of there. Just absolutely senseless and so frustrating and heartbreaking, like they always are. But yeah, that is the end of the case. If you guys have enjoyed this video, give me a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel for similar content. Anyway, that's all I have today on the case of Michelle Mockbee. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, bye.